All right, happy Veterans Day to everyone. It is 11/11, 2021. You're in the 411 Sports World Show, Crossing the Lines edition with Mr. 411. And guess what? Guess who else you with? It's the calculator.
Greetings and salutations, Mr. 411.
All right. Welcome, calculator. You know what time it is, man. We got to jump into it. And we're going to talk about these lines, man, so everybody can fatten their pockets.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's do it. All right, welcome everybody to the show. It's Crossing the Lines. You already know what you got to do. Yeah, do the following. All right, same thing we ask you to do for the fantasy show. We'd like for you to do for this one as well. Click the like, subscribe, and notification so you can be notified and get all the information from the one and only calculator. So let's jump into the first matchup calculator that you want to talk about in Cross the Lines this week, and that's Wyoming and one of my favorite teams, Boise State.
Yes, sir. Friday night special, Mr. 411. I try to give people a game that they can look at. It's hard to pick these Friday night games just for the mere fact is they're so limited and the books really cover them good. So, it's really hard to pick a winner. But this one kind of pointed out to me because when I looked at it, I saw 13 and a half points. And I said, it's very difficult to beat Wyoming by 2 touchdowns. Now, yes, the Cowboys hadn't been good enough offensively to challenge in the Mountain West, which is shown by as they are averaging just 9.5 points per game over their 4 game losing streak. But they do limit big plays. You may say, hey, calculator, Fresno State beat Wyoming by 17 points during that losing streak. And I say, yes, you're right. But A, Wyoming outgained the Bulldogs that game by zero point 0.6 yards per play. And B, they suffered a -5 turnover margin. You take one of those turnovers, they're under 17 points, easy. So I believe that the Cowboys also are showing signs of life recently as they just scored 31 points and averaged 6.5 yards per play just last week against what is now a decent Colorado State defense. Boise State, they're coming out, yes, they're hot. They're coming off probably their best 2 performances of the season these past 2 weeks. And I even think they'll win. I just don't think they're going to win by 13 and a half. So that's why I like the Cowboys and I like the 13 and a half.
Yes, sir. All right. Cowboys, Wyoming, 13 and a half. You heard it there from the calculator. All right, take Wyoming. Let's get to the next matchup calculator. Oklahoma and Baylor.
Yes, this one I really if you follow this show, I don't really like doing over unders unless it really sticks out. And actually, this is probably the first over under we've done all year, but it really caught my attention. I said, what is going on? Why, in my opinion, is this such a low over under? So because there's so many things that can affect the over under. You look at weather, you look at the moods of the referees at that time. A lot of things can affect an over under. But since making the switch at quarterback from Rattler to Caleb Williams, the Sooners are averaging an astounding 48.5 yards per game. And if there was anything that stuck with me in my studies when I studied physics in college, it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's Newton's third law of motion. And for those people that need a reminder of what the third law of motion is, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Well, in football, when you correlate that to football, the reaction to Oklahoma scoring so much on offense is their defense is starting to give up points. By the dozen. I mean, they've given up over 30 points per game since they switched to quarterback. Just because they're scoring so much, their defense is still kicking on the field, and they're going to get tired down. So you can get a lot of those garbage touchdowns at the end to explode for an over, right? So this current trend actually sets up nicely for an overbet, especially when you consider Baylor program ranks top 20 in scoring offense at 36.3 points per game and eighth in yards per play. And just to make sure, I did check the weather report, Mister 411, to see if Vegas was going to be trying to be sneaky. Game time. We're talking 63 degrees,
No
sunny.
way.
Yes, 63 degrees, sunny, very little wind. I think it was like the high was like 6 mile per hour wind. That is beautiful football weather at that time. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe they're just trying to fatten people's pockets early on so they can bait later in the game. But this is a smash over. And hey, I've been wrong before. When it looks too good to be true, it usually is. Just look at that Purdue smelly line that we talked about last week. It looked too good to be true, and we sniffed that one out really good and cashed in on that because that was our jackpot.
Yes.
If people remember. But yeah, I think this is going to hit the over in the third quarter, so you can take the fourth quarter off and watch something else.
Wow.
Oh, and
That,
one more thing, Mister 411. I want to remind people about that notification button because I don't think this is going to be at 62 and a half much longer, especially when people start seeing the weather and they're going to start pounding the over. So once people start pounding the over, the line rises. So try and get it at 62 and a half right now.
yeah, you gotta move on it. Gotta move on it,
Hmm.
ladies and gentlemen. All right, you heard it here first. Take the over, move on it quick.
Quick.
Quick, fast, in a hurry, calculator. And
Yes,
guess what
sir.
time it is, calculator?
Oh, talk to me, Mister 411.
Here we go. Here we go.
Yes,
You know what
sir.
time it is. It's time,
Hey,
man. It's
hey, and
time to
Mr.
cash
One,
in.
that's right. Like I've always said, I don't like to brag or bring attention to myself, but we have been smoking hot on the jackpot. We're talking about 4 wins, 0 losses, and 1 push in the last 5 weeks. Jackpot. I try to dig deep in jackpot to at least give something that people can really go for.
Yes, sir. And
Hmm.
it's a Pac-12 matchup. So let's talk about
Yes,
it.
yes.
Utah and Arizona. The
Yeah,
jackpot of the week.
that's that's right. And hey, this is because I follow these teams in the Pac-12. Some of these teams, but Utah more often because I was actually betting against the Utes earlier in the season. But then when I saw them make a quarterback change, that's when I pull back. Don't lay any more money down. I kind of see what what translates after a quarterback change. And man, I'm glad I did because when they made that change, they are actually Utah is actually playing to what people started setting their expectations to at the beginning of the year. Okay, just think about it. Last week they just waxed Stanford 52-7 in Palo Alto on Stanford's home field, and I expect a similar performance in Tucson, Arizona, which, in my opinion, is the worst team in the Pac-12. You may
Wow.
say, but calculator, the Wildcats beat Cal last week. Yeah, and Cal was missing almost half their team due to COVID protocols. Matter of fact, they're missing so many people. They're canceling this, or they're not canceling. They're moving this week's game to another week because they're still ravaged by the COVID protocols. So yeah, we'll give Arizona its first win last week, but they're going to revert right back to being terrible. Okay, yeah. Utah does have Oregon on deck. That could cause a look ahead effect, similar to that Purdue Michigan State. Michigan State was looking ahead to their schedule, kind of overthought, kind of discarded Purdue. But I think the Utes has the perfect style that can counteract that issue. They pound the rock and they play tough defense. Arizona's going to fold like a cheap
Hmm.
suit this weekend. Utes roll, swallow the 24, and hope that line don't climb too much because when people start looking at this line and start looking at the underlying numbers of why Arizona actually won that game last week, again, click the notification button. You want to get that early line, and right now it's nice sitting at 24, but this thing could climb to 28 by game time.
Wow. Beautiful. All right. You heard it here first. Jump on it. And again, calculator keeps mentioning, hit that like, subscribe, notification so you can get this information. All right. And if you want to get more of Crossing the Lines, you will catch the calculator and Mr. 411 on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can find us on YouTube and you can find us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. But you know where else you can find us at, calculator?
Zingo TV, my friend.
That's right, Zingo TV. And we thank Zingo for supporting all of our shows. All right, we got another matchup here.
All right.
All right. All right. This is a battle. This is an interesting battle here. All right. Western Kentucky. Why do you have them on the show today?
Okay, it's at first glance when we look at this, Rice's offense has shown signs of life lately. All right. After averaging just 9.6 points in the first 5 games against FBS opponents, they've averaged 26 in the last three. But they've averaged only 5.2 yards per play in these 3 games, which is still inconsistent, which could lean lots of punts to go with decent drives. Okay. I have a source out of the Western Kentucky camp.
Ooh, a
For long
source.
time listeners, his name is Doc. We call him Dr. Sachs because he's tuned in to the Western Kentucky program. And Dr. Sachs has told me anytime a team has to punt against Western Kentucky, bad news for that team. Quarterback Bailey Zapp and the Hilltoppers have scored at least 31 points in every game and has averaged 43.2 points per game against Conference USA foes. Last week, NTSU did a great job of limiting the big plays and forcing Zapp to
Hmm.
dink and dunk. And guess what? Western Kentucky still scored on 8 of their first 12 possessions, with 2 more ending in downs in NTSU territory. And they won easily 48-21. Yes, Rice could slow things down and stay close for a while, but I believe that air raid ran by Western Kentucky will eventually allow them to pull away. And I see them winning by at least 3 touchdowns this weekend, which
Ooh.
gives me a decent cushion when you have an eight when you're talking about 18 point lead. So I want to thank and give a shout out to Dr. Sachs on the information he gave me, and say take the Hilltoppers this weekend.
Hey, we love Dr. Sachs. If we can ever
Love
catch up
Dr.
with
Sachs.
Doc, if we can ever get our hands on Dr. Sachs and get him
I
on the
know
show,
he's a hard
you
man to
know,
get a hold of, Mister
he
411.
he's hard to keep up with, but I'm glad you was able to extract that information from him
Yes,
and be able to use it. And for the listeners, you know what I mean? Because that's what we're in the business for right now is to, fatten our pockets
yes,
and
sir.
win those friendly wagers.
That's right.
All
Use
right.
any and use any type of source we can get.
Exactly. All right. It's time for our sponsor, Heavenly Spa Mobile, 24 Ingleside Avenue, Suite 101-A, Macon, Georgia 31204. Latanya can be reached at 478-747-9231. That is 478-747-9231. Heavenly Spa Mobile, where relaxation is the key.
Is key.
It is the key. And calculator, it's time for you to continue to give the keys to success.
That's
All
right.
right. With the
Thank you.
next matchup. All
Hey,
right.
Mr. 411, uh, one things I like to look at. I love to find spreads that have a road team that is getting that magic number of +1. It worked for us last week in that Tennessee Kentucky game, uh, because a lot of times, just to give people backdrop, while I look at a lot of your public bettors overvalue home field compared to what it really is in value. A lot of people, a lot of the average better will, they'll get 4 points for a point, a home field point spread, whereas the books, they do 2 and 2.5, especially in college. So yes, this year, you know the deal by now, right? Fade Mizzou
Yes.
football. The
Yes.
Tigers covered for the first time this season, and they lost 37 points to Georgia in Athens on Saturday. But they covered for
They
the first
covered.
time. So Mizzou has a downright awful defense that was allowing 36.8 points per game this season. This
That's a
season,
lot.
and 271 yards per game rushing, right? And just last week, the Gamecocks ran for 284 yards against Florida. Now, I had to take a step back because the one thing is I like to look at what a line would have been when you have such a big game. Like a lot of people were surprised by South Carolina beating Florida, right? So if you did a line last week, take that game out of the way, South Carolina would have actually gotten 4 points. So I usually stay away from that, but I just can't do it because even though it was a surprise, this is a if they can just do what they did halfway did against a Florida defense, imagine what they're going to do against the Mizzou defense, right? So I was hoping to get a few more points, but again, the beat down for Florida last week took that away. But all I have to do, I don't have to win by a field goal or anything like that. I just need to win the game. Period. I'm not giving up. I'm getting actually points, and I like that. I like that strategy where I'm on the road. I get the +1, and I think what I am, I'm getting the team that not only is better right now, but playing better.
Yeah.
Right now at that point. And that's South Carolina, especially after the win. Again, they could have the letdown after the Florida game, but I just think with them looking, hey, what was successful against Florida? Hey, we can do that against Missouri. So I think they'll do that. So I'm going to take even though there's a lot of things looking bad against South Carolina in this one, I'm still going to go with South Carolina +1.
All right. South Carolina +1. That's what it is. Calculator.
Yes,
What's
sir.
up with this match out west? Hawaii
Oh, yeah.
and UNLV.
Oh, this one
Why
really
you have
caught
me
my eye.
watching games out west, Calculator?
Hey, because this one's going to be nice, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to set it up for you. This one right here, UNLV has to be what I think is the best 1-8 team in America. Right, the Rebels are coming off their first win and have actually had the lead in the second half 5 times this season, even though they're 1-4 in those games. What to me, that shows me UNLV is making progress under second-year head coach Marcus Arroyo. On the flip side, Hawaii rarely embraces the role as a favorite. Go back to 2015, the Rainbow Warriors are just 5-22-1 against the spread when they are as a favorite. If they're on the road, which they are in this matchup, it's even worse. Hawaii has actually lost 7 of its last 9 road games and is just 1-4 against the spread away from home just this season. Hey, and to kick it off, to add fuel to the fire and to just dot everything, it's a 4 p.m. Eastern kickoff time. And that's essentially, hey, we're all human. We're all humans. We have that internal
Yeah.
clock. This would be asking like those Hawaii players to be having a 9 a.m. kickoff if they were on their home soil. So, hey, I'm getting 3 points. I actually think UNLV wins outright just from time difference. They're playing better right now, and they've just had some bad luck in a lot of games. So I really like this UNLV game for the home field advantage and the way they're playing right now. And I'm getting 3 points. So hey, and if you want to get frisky, I say take them on the money line. Then you don't have to pay any juice. You can even get a little extra vig to yourself if you're
Mm.
feeling frisky. But hey, if you just want to take a little relaxation, say not take any chances, take the 3 points. But yeah, I like the running Rebels in this one. They're back.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Run the Rebels and the 3. That's impressive,
Hmm.
man. Great inside information too on the schedule and the time of the game.
I mean,
That
that's
stuff
amazing.
comes into play.
It does, it does. Hey, I'm still trying to eat at 6 o'clock, but 5 o'clock, my stomach's grumbling saying it's 6 o'clock. And I said, no, man,
Right.
daylight savings time just happened. So,
Yeah.
so,
And we
and if
and
that's just
look,
1 hour, just imagine if you have a 5 hour difference from another team.
yeah, can you imagine falling back 5 hours?
Oh my goodness, yeah. So people think they'd still
I,
be in bed.
yeah, I mean, yeah, that'd be interesting, wouldn't it? You definitely be to work on time.
Oh
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Yeah, 5 hour
Yep.
window. But yeah, take the 5, take the 3 in the rebel in the
Yes.
running rebels. All right, listen to the calculator. He didn't calculate all that for no reason. All right, next matchup, calculator. Next matchup and the final matchup for the week. Texas A&M and Ole Miss. I'm actually intrigued by this
Yeah.
game. I'm definitely going to sit back and watch this one. So
And think
let's
about it,
talk
it's one
about
of the
it.
better it's one of the better matchups on the day, right? Two top 20 teams and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And it's crazy because as if people follow this show, we've been making money on A&M since that Alabama game, and then we've been making money on Ole Miss pretty much all year. So something's got to give. They say, well, calculator, what's the calculator going with this week? All right. So if you look at the A&M recent scoring totals, 41 versus Alabama, 34 versus 35 versus Missouri, 44 against South Carolina. So you may assume that Jimbo Fisher has worked out all the kinks in this Aggies offense, and perhaps you're right. But in the 41-point outburst against A&M against the Tide, A&M finished with just 379 total yards, and it wasn't that much better against Missouri, just 431, or the Gamecocks at 477 yards. And last week they produced another mediocre performance against Auburn for just 409 yards and just 20 points. The 477 yards against the Gamecocks was a season high for A&M versus a Power 5 opponent. While Ole Miss has finished with just 464 yards just once this year
Ooh,
against, they were kind of come over a hangover against Alabama, and they only got 291 against Alabama. Of the Aggies' 15 touchdowns scored from the Alabama game through the Auburn game, 3 have come via special teams and defense, and 3 more came after A&M got the ball in the opponent's turnover or opponent's territory via special teams. And if you follow the show, we repeatedly say scores like that are hard to replicate game to game. Ole Miss has a massive advantage at quarterback. And while the Rebels offense has felt a bit off the past few games, they've also held 3 of their 4 opponents to 26 points or less. A&M needs big plays to score and has thrown more than 200 yards just once against a Power 5 opponent. This boils down to matchups, and we are big on matchups on the 411 Sports Show, right? So this is
that's right.
basically a good matchup for the Ole Miss D against the A&M offense. What is also odd, and this really surprised me when I started looking into it. Did you know A&M has only this game will also just be their second true road game throughout the year,
Wow.
because their game against Colorado was in Denver, and their game against Arkansas was Dallas. So like split down the middle, not really a home field advantage or a road game. That counts as a neutral type game script. So the first one, their first road game was against Missouri, and we know how that one turned out. It was Missouri, right?
Yeah,
I'm picking
right.
Ole Miss to win this game outright. But hey, Vegas wants to give me 2.5 points. I'll take 2.5 points. Hey, and Ole Miss at home. Hey, they are a live home dog. Ole Miss covers this game, and again, I think another game that with a close point spread. I like Ole Miss with the outright win.
Man, calculator, you are killing them today, man. I mean, you are killing them.
I
I mean,
love
you
the
got
SEC,
it.
Mr. 411. Love the SEC.
Wow, man. If you don't buy in on this week, I don't know what to say. I mean, your pocket should be heavy this weekend.
And Mr. 411, we've always said on this show, we are capitalists. We want people to make as much money as possible.
That's right.
That's why we
That
do
is
this.
absolutely right. Absolutely. Well, calculator, before we get out of here, first want to thank you for being on again and dropping all the knowledge. And I really want to thank Professor Sachs too for his contribution,
Yes,
since
always
you was
love
able
that.
to catch up with him. And and we like to thank the listeners. Thank you for watching. We thank you for listening. But before we get out of here, calculator, is there anything you would like to say? I see you have your shirt on for
Yes,
Veterans Day. Anything you want to share?
11-11. I absolutely want to. I have my stepdad. He was a member of the military. That's why I'm actually living where I live. We on a base town, and we love our veterans at the 411 Sports Show. And I was so glad that I saw the little picture up in the in your right hand corner to celebrate Veterans Day. So I said, hey, I got to do my part too. Thanks all for all those veterans, and if there's a veteran watching, we appreciate the service you've given.
Absolutely. I mean, well stated, calculator. And I throw in there too, Happy Veterans Day. Special one to my father because he's a veteran as well.
Hmm.
And we have a special presentation later on tonight if you tune in to the Sports Brothers show. And that's just a little tease there for later
Yeah.
on tonight. But yes, happy Veterans Day to everyone and everyone out there. And we definitely respect everything that you've done for this country.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, calculator, respect everything you do for one sports world. And I will see you at the fantasy show next week.
Yes, sir.
Can't wait to see that, and we can chop
Absolutely.
into week 10 of the NFL because it's going to be a lot of changes, a lot of things going on there. So
Yeah.
everybody be ready. So check out Sports Brothers tonight, 10:30 Eastern time. Check out the fantasy football show next Tuesday at 5 p.m. And then check out Crossing the Lines every Thursday at 5 p.m.
Hey, Mr.
For
411.
yes,
I do
sir.
have one thing. Can I drop some fantasy news that people that I just found came over the wire while we were doing this? I just found out that
Yes,
OBJ is finalizing a deal with the Rams.
with the
Right,
Rams.
with the Rams. So
Oh my
yeah.
goodness! Wow, that is. You
I
know
had to
what?
drop it because it came across my wire right as we were doing the show, and I said, "Hey, we're a fantasy show too." So, but I know for the people that ain't watching this for the fantasy show, but if they are some of the people that do follow us the fantasy show, I want to get the news out while I had it while it was fresh in my head.
Well, I'm certain Justin is because Justin chimed in last night on the NBA roundtable.
Okay, excellent.
He chimed in and he threw his fantasy question in there as well. So He threw out a fantasy football trade in there too in the middle of the
I
show.
got
But
you. I
but
love it.
Justin, I know he's listening. We love Justin, appreciate him.
Yes.
He has that Carmelo Anthony meme that he likes to put up here all the time. So
Yep.
I like, for some reason I like that.
Mm,
But yes, breaking news right there from the
mm,
calculator. So that will definitely be discussed tonight on the Sports Brothers. And we'll talk about the after effects of that on the
mm.
fantasy show next week. All
Absolutely.
right. All right. Great
Excellent.
job. Well, for the calculator, I am Mr. 411. We thank you all. You all have a great day. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.